Laugh 29. Because Sabrina says TV can be boring without us seeing why, as if the writer was too lazy to think up an explanation, Hilda says it won't be boring if they watch it with her special zapper. If she points it at the two of them, they become part of the picture. This would only be possible if they were actually being sent to another universe that magic found out about on command. Or, her magic outright creates a pocket universe just like the one she'd expect to see on the TV. And Salem can only see what they're doing because of the spell on the TV. That's the only way to have this make sense, so that I can take it seriously. So now Hilda gets to be amusing. She goes to someone advertising a cold remedy while having a cold himself and offers him a brew to cure stuffiness. It makes him breathe fire, for no reason. And Hilda advertises her brew. I have to assume only Salem can see what she's doing on the TV. Because if everyone watching this station saw all of this, that'd be a lot of people that need their memories erased by spying witches, or else Hilda would become famous and not be left alone. Someone advertises a car in person on TV, and Sabrina and Hilda fly by him, freaking him out on a broom. Sabrina shouldn't be part of the plot if she's gonna act just like Hilda, and Hilda's the only one doing anything. Hilda tries out Wheel of Fortune and uses magic so that the wheel lands on all the money amounts, confusing the guy. She uses magic to pick out all the letters and spell out a message calling the show a bummer. I guess because of all the people that lose and fail on it. But it's still a show where someone ends up rich at the end. She says she doesn't think any of the prizes are worth having. But while it's good that she doesn't end up with a prize that she doesn't deserve, that's unearned, it's too bad for him that she kissed him against his will. At least not on the lips. She fortunately agrees to go home because of Sabrina. So now she has a purpose for being here. And the panels after this are a waste of time. This story was about Sabrina getting taken to some other universes by Hilda that happened to resemble a cold remedy advertisement, and then take her in a Wheel of Fortune. I liked how whimsical it was with Hilda not trying to hide that she's a witch. But it should have been Zelda who was with her instead of Sabrina. It was out of character for her to not call her out on misbehaving, and her doing so would have made the story less fun. So that's why she shouldn't have been there at all. Because all she did was act like Hilda. RJ's Palace and Gals 204. Ambrose complains that it's too hot and the paper says it'll get hotter. Sabrina uses magic and summons snow in her house and makes it snow over it. Which she should have realized would just freak out any neighbors that see her and get Della involved. Ambrose was hot indoors, so the solution was to turn up the air conditioner, or rather the magic air conditioning Hilda uses. Betty Me 193. Sabrina somehow waited until she and Hilda got to their seats to decide to buy popcorn at the theater. Hilda refuses to let Sabrina squander $3 and says she'll zap them up a mess of free popcorn. I guess because she said the word mess and thus accidentally imagined this, they end up completely covered in it, giving away that they're witches. But they could erase these people's memory of this after magically dealing with the popcorn, so it's just a brief humiliation. Since when would Hilda use slang to the point where she'd say mess instead of a lot of? Although, since witches don't still talk like they're from centuries ago, except one of them, it is believable that they'd say some slang if they all update their way of speaking to fit how every adult around them talks. But because she looks so old, she won't say teenage slang, if that's indeed teenage slang from back then. I don't recognize it at all. It is creative that in a story called Horn of Plenty, there wasn't any horn. Betty and Veronica die just 50. Sabrina notices all of the attention a girl's getting with her many trendy watches and wishes that there was a way to top her. It'd feel more in character for her to be petty enough to get jealous over this if she was getting Harvey's attention with them. She uses magic and summons a big watch to wear around her shirt just to get some attention. Good thing most people in the panel are smiling and Melissa's annoyed at it. So we know that she got what she wanted when she could have easily just made a fool out of herself. Because Sabrina thinks her neighbor's nice, she decides to grant any wish he makes. He wishes he could be a couch potato, and for no reason, he literally becomes one, even though she wouldn't have imagined that. She must have sent her magic to his brain to find out what his next wish would be. But if it was in his brain, it'd know what he really meant. Then Hilda tells someone that her witch's diner is great and she should start a franchise and go nationwide. And Sabrina tells her that not everyone likes bat burgers as much as Hilda. That's confusing because it's a witch's diner, so it's in the witch world. And Hilda's a typical witch on purpose. So wouldn't most witches agree with her? Then Hilda says that the reason so many witches maintain their figures is they aren't tempted into taking second portions. Sabrina looks at the potion ingredients and isn't even tempted to take one portion. Then Hilda notices from looking at KFC that there's lots of money in fast food restaurants, and imagines a billboard advertising her batwing chips. Sabrina says it's not gonna work. A few people would still try them from sheer curiosity. Everything's Archie 157. Hilda screams while flying a broom because she sees someone get launched into the air on a skateboard by a ramp. And she says broom flying isn't safe anymore, even though she'd just fly a lot higher up where nobody would notice her. Life with Archie 286. Hilda says with her broom that witches save money because they don't buy gas, tires, or oil. And then we see them being bothered by the rain, and Sabrina says they spend too much on umbrellas and cold remedies. They'd always have an anti-rain force field spell around their flying brooms. Even if not, they'd always cast one. And it'd take 1 second so they wouldn't not do it. Also, they wouldn't buy a new umbrella every time they need one. And umbrellas don't cost that much. They'd just zap one up. If they didn't already think to zap away the rain clouds. And they'd instantly cure their colds as well by saying a spell or summoning a cold remedy, not buy one. Even ignoring all of that, they should be warping more. Archie 392. Sabrina says witches never worry about bad luck symbols, and a black cat crosses her path. She's drawn smiling despite the fact that horseshoes are bad luck to witches, because it's the good luck symbols that witches have trouble with. That doesn't make any sense. I thought she was gonna say that witches can use magic to make themselves immune to bad luck symbols. She would have done that. A curse from a bunch of witches would have to make this problem the case, and it would have been undone by other witches. And why would they do that curse? Archie Giant Series 603. Sabrina says that witches celebrate the 4th of July by flying on brooms above the fireworks to look down on them. They have to watch them from the ground first to see how high they go, and then fly pretty far up. That's the only way to make sure they won't get hit by the fireworks, or that'd be insane. I assume they have a spell to keep the air around them the same thickness no matter how high up they are. Archie Giant Series 624. Sabrina wonders who uses all these cosmetics, and Hilda says she does. And Sabrina reads off some obvious witch cosmetics. And Hilda suddenly looks a lot worse as she says this is how witches maintain their bad complexions. She usually doesn't look that way just because the camera's that close to her. Archie Giant Series 625. Salem wisens up, realizing that he shouldn't let a dog chase him when he could just summon a giant magnifying glass and scare the dog, by making it look like his head is huge. That was a very creative way to deal with him. I like that it didn't hurt it. But I don't like how his head looks in the last panel, more than usual anyways. Archie Giant Series 626. Ambrose puts hotels on Monopoly properties and gets a 5, and says Sabrina has to pay up because she landed on his property. Sabrina has no problem cheating and summoning a tiny broom to move something, and says witches don't have to land on anything. Betty and Veronica 45. It turns out Hilda had a date last night. What's the catch? It's nice of Sabrina to ask her how it was. She says that he offered her something better than roses and caviar. Batwing chips and sulfur fumes. So that was pointless. It's not funny, it's just heartwarming. Archie 394. The girl asks Sabrina why Sabrina's aunt's dressed like that, and Sabrina lies that they like to dress up for Halloween every day. She says that explains it, but then is smart enough to say, I think. That kind of joke has already been done. Twice. Betty and Veronica 46. Hilda somehow says that some mortals are brave because she'd expect mortals to be afraid of a witch like her. 1, she'd know by now that mortals don't believe in witches and is grateful for it, and freaked out over the prospect of mortals figuring out she's a witch and going after her family. so she won't say she's a witch right in front of them. Instead, she assumes it'll be fine because they'll think she's crazy, but why would she humiliate herself by making them think that? She decides to change into her bathing suit, and she frightens them away because she uncharacteristically decided to wear a normal bathing suit. Jughead 28. Sabrina and Hilda fly on a broom, and Sabrina thinks they're going to be late for their appointment. Hilda wisens up and magically makes time stand still for a while. I'm proud of her. And she thanks an inanimate object. Well, at least that was polite of her, even if she wasted her time doing that. Veronica 18. Sabrina hears the radio saying that a $1,000 jackpot will go out to the listener that can correctly identify their mystery tune. That's a lot of money for something that a lot of people would be able to identify. Sabrina decides to cheat by using magic to find out the answer, but there's a problem, because they haven't even played it yet. She'd have better common sense than that. Archie 395. Hilda tells Sabrina that she told Esmeralda she could play in her room, and for no reason she doesn't know why Esmeralda would want to look at Sabrina's diary. There's no reason anyone would be oblivious to how evil Esmeralda is. Hilda's being out of character by not immediately knowing why anyone would want to read someone's diary. Sabrina was smart enough to put a curse on her diary so that anyone who reads it other than her would turn into a frog. I've already seen that, but at least this time it's her and I get the funny visual where for no reason her glasses are still there. But somehow, the diary's still being read because for no reason it was put against a pillow. Maybe she knew she'd be turned into an animal and put the diary there just in case. And her spell doesn't make the person's brain like a frog, specifically so they'd be safe and stay put for it to undo the spell. At that point, she should have just had the curse turn the person to a statue or make them fall asleep so that they couldn't still read the diary, making the curse worthless. Betty and Veronica 47. Sabrina tells Hilda she's trying to impress the new boy in her class with her new outfit that'll knock his socks off, because in this era of Sabrina, Harvey doesn't exist. Hilda casts a spell and the guy's socks get knocked off along with his shoes. And Sabrina thinks Hilda took her too literally. She must have done that to prank her because she'd know it'd just freak him out. That is a funny image. Archie 396. A shoe repairman tells Sabrina that business is bad because so many of his customers waste his time with idle chatter. Why would that make business bad? It's more likely due to the location of his shop and not many people needing shoe repair. He wishes there was a way to tell people that time is money. So Sabrina casually summons a clock on the wall with money signs on it, and writes it down in her good deed book, even though she should know that her obvious use of magic freaked him out. But she could always make up for it by rewriting his memory and lying that she just carried the thing here to solve its problem. Archie Giant Series 630. Hilda insults the fact that a girl walking by her has too many revolting colors in her hair. This is supposed to be a parody of the 90s punk culture. That girl would hear her and take offense, but maybe if she's daring enough to be like this, she's got a thick skin. Just because Sabrina says that striking colors attracts a man's eye, Hilda uses magic to make her clothes really colorful. It's smart of her to do that for her clothes and not her hair, but if she really wanted this, she'd make herself look beautiful, which is the only way this would work. Betty and Veronica 48. Sabrina gets told to come along with Hilda, and she says witches' rummage sales are boring because it's always the same old stuff. It wouldn't make any sense that they'd only sell witch stuff. They have tons of normal stuff too. Betty and Veronica 49. Hilda says witches have luggage service now, like a real airport. First, it wouldn't have just come into being. And second, why does she talk as if it's not a real airport when it's real to her? Hilda says they have to drop off their baggage before flying. Won't they just warp it to where they know they're going? Maybe that's not allowed to prevent telefragging. Couldn't they warp it to the hotel they're gonna go to? We don't need all the panels until they have to pick up their luggage. And all of the witches are bored waiting for it to make fun of airports. One of them must have zapped up a cobweb to her just to make fun of the airport for making her wait. You'd think the luggage would all be there instantly because witches can warp stuff and fly as fast as they want. Archie 400. As Sabrina's noticeably badly drawn, she gets told that her aunts are looking for new outfits, and the stores are showing the newest styles. But then we see them look at some party costumes on sale. Betty and Veronica 52. Hilda complains that while the supermarket advertises that it carries everything, she's never found any toadstools here. I guess she wants them for a brew. That was charming.